Hey everybody, what is up? I would come out to shoot this video right as it starts to snow, and today we are going to be talking about this tree right behind me and what they did wrong. So this tree here was, they called it a hard prune for canopy reduction, but there's a couple of things that really are an issue with it. If you look up in there, you can see that there are a number of stubs like that one right there that really don't go anywhere. It's just lopped off like a few feet from where the joint is on the main stem that it was coming off of. The problem with that is that really they didn't trim or prune this thing down. They just topped it a whole bunch of times in relatively minor areas. But the whole tree, if you look at it, is that way. They just have so much stuff, and now if you look at them really closely, you will see that a bunch of this stuff has gotten to the point where it's actually completely dead. The epicormic growth that came off of it did not come off of it at the ends of the stubs that they cut. They came off below the stubs that they cut because there was nothing there, and they have now created a tree that keeps breaking off. If you look over here on the ground, you can see that there is, where is it at? There it is. You can see that there is a branch laying on the ground, and that's one of the epicormic growths from about 4 years ago or 3 years ago, I think it was, that they cut this thing, and it has shot up all these sprouts. But they're weakly attached. They're not very, they're okay health-wise as far as limbs and branches and stuff go. But like that stuff up top, if you look at it, all that epicormic growth, not nearly the same as these natural growing branches that are down here that kind of swoop out. These have a lot more buds on them. They have a better structure to them. They move a lot less in the wind. They tend to be a lot more stable. Whereas all that junk up there is just breaking apart and falling on the ground. And I can name, I mean, this was just really, really poorly done, honestly. They came in and they essentially just topped the tree, but just not as high or as low as normal. They topped it a little bit higher up. But you can just start counting all these nubs up in there and see all this stuff. And in the winter, this tree shows just how poorly it was treated by some supposed tree service company that, you know, supposedly are arborist, and this is what they left them with. And they have had, since I've been here, they topped this right when we moved in or right after we moved in across the street, and it's been like this now, I guess, almost 4 years, and they have had continual not dead, but breakage come out of it. In fact, you can see right there, there's a hanging branch. I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's actually a hanging limb branch right there. That's one of the upper ones that broke off. There's some more inside. It created a lot of clutter on the inside that naturally would not have been there, like on this one that's kind of crossing through the center right there. And now all that epicormic growth where they cut it off is just running into other stuff. And for some reason, I mean, you know, that stub was there when they did all this, and it's just, they didn't take it out. It's just become a cluster of weak unions and dead nubs up in there. So those dead nubs, like this one right here, let's see if you can see that. I'm sorry, the camera's having a hard time. I have a hard time seeing the lens. That, like right there, that's either going to just allow a whole bunch of decay in the tree, or what's going to happen is it's going to break off and fall, and now you have like portions of larger dead wood, like these nubs, like that one, just falling off and causing issues. And until that happens, a ton of decay is getting into this tree, and this is a cottonwood, so it's a poplar variety. And these don't do well with decay compartmentalization. They don't compartmentalize decay very well at all. It's not a good idea to treat these trees this way. And this could have been done in a way that was so much more effective. It could have been reduced down to a more effective grouping of branches, reduced the decay by huge amounts, and been never ideal, because when you're cutting wood that big off of a tree with that many wounds, it's going to decay no matter what. But it could have had a better chance to create wound wood, heal over, and compartmentalize that decay, which this kind of tree really needs. So if you're doing this kind of stuff, I'm sorry, that's not good quality. They literally took chainsaws and ran across this tree like it was a shrub, is what they did. And they should have taken their time. I guarantee you my company would have taken the time to cut at each appropriate union, cut back right at the branch collar, and allowed it to have a much quicker wound wood healing growth, because it doesn't really, it heals over, but the tree doesn't heal. So it would have created and produced wound wood that wounded over the decaying area a lot faster, and they would have had a lot less breakage up in the top. Now, another thing about this is, if you're selling reduction options to your clients, I only think and this is just a personal preference, I only think it's ethical to let them know what they're getting into. When you make those large cuts like that, for every cut you make, 5 to 20 sprouts are going to shoot up. In about 2 or 3 years, those really need to be thinned out. But you have to let your client know that that's going to be the case. At least I think you should, because if you don't, it's just going to create more breakage, they're going to have more issues, and it's going to become even more hassle for your client. So, I mean, I always let them know, look, I can do this, and I'll do it the most quote-unquote healthy way possible for what you have going on in the tree, but you're going to have to do a follow-up visit within 2 or 3 years to kind of keep this thing, because what's happening is in the summer and spring, when this thing leafs out, it becomes a huge wind cell. The wind, you can watch it, it just tears these things apart, and then they start splitting and breaking, and they just can't handle that because they shot up too quick, and they were all fighting for sunlight and space. They shot up really quick, and they're too flimsy and too tall, and now this tree is not much shorter than it was, and it has a lot more breakage in it. So overall, due to the way that this was done, I think that they just stole money from the client. Now, maybe the client wanted it that way and they explained it. That's fine if they did, but still, they shouldn't have left what they left in this tree, in my opinion. It's just poor service. So that's my opinion on it. I'm Eric with Eric's Tree Service. So I hope you guys find this interesting. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out Elevated Office, my podcast about tree climbing and arborist work. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.